Hi, this is Steve Downs, the voice of Master Chief. You're listening to ThisWeekInGeek.net. Finish the fight.
And now it's time for another special feature.
Tickle.
Hey guys, what's going on? You are listening to ThisWeekInGeek.net's The Prototype as we continue our coverage of not E3 2023. I forgot what year it was for 30 seconds. Anyway, I'm Mike the Birdman, but I'm not alone as I join this digital cavalcade of a lot of damn trailers. I'm joined from the land of Kitchener, Ontario, Canada.
With Alex, the producer, who's eating a banana.
All right. Joined from the Garden State of New Jersey.
It's Ken from this anime, and
you know what? Typically, we look forward to the end of our coverage, and this, I don't know, everything past the Xbox showcase just felt so unnecessary. If I'm going to be frankly honest, there wasn't a lot that I really enjoyed seeing after we recorded our show late last week. I mean, There was some cool stuff here, but I was like, this could have been like not an hour. Like, I don't know. Where the hell do we want to start with this?
Okay,
there's so much stuff.
We'll go in order. So Saturday, after we recorded Friday and released Friday, Saturday was basically the indie day, the Western indie day. So it was the Future of Play Direct, not to be confused with the Future Games show, which came a few hours later, and Wholesome Games. Wholesome was the one I was going to be most interested in because that's the one where they premiered like a lot of just like unique, cozy, relaxing stuff during the pandemic, like
cutesy stuff.
Yeah, and I keep mentioning it because I know you played it a lot, and it was Kind Words.
Mm-hmm.
So stuff like that. Didn't Unpacking get revealed there?
yes,
That was like in the first year they ran it, which is the game where you just sit there,
unpack a house.
Yeah, unpack a house, or it's stuff like that, or like Power Wash Simulator, that kind of stuff, right? Stuff that doesn't have an antagonist, or if it does, it's not gonna. Nothing in it should raise your heart rate unless you're happy.
it's a super podcasty type of. Like, these are all very podcast kind of games.
Yeah,
you can just throw something on in the background and play.
Yeah, like if you're like, hey, I need to calm down, or I need to chill for like an hour, but I don't want to like invest, and just you want to just zone out and just enjoy yourself. That's the stuff that they show. Usually not anything from major publishers, except sometimes Marvelous / Xseed, because they'll have like Story of Seasons and things like that on there. But yeah, so the weekend started with that. Then Sunday, obviously, we had our Xbox and PC show. But then I watched 6 hours of Final Fantasy news, which was...
Yeah, the Final Fantasy stuff was... I watched a good chunk of it. It was a great presentation.
What's crazy is it wasn't part of the Summer Games Fest, yet it had the biggest audience, the most money spent on the stage. They had like 60-foot banners, Mike, all around the building. It was as expensive looking as the E3 show floor was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And they flew out. I'll just mention it here because we're not going to talk about it in the main thing here, but they flew out the executive team of Square Enix, including the CEO, who did a 20-minute keynote at the beginning about he's the new CEO. Now, he worked for the guy that was the NFT crazy dude. Apparently, this guy is a little NFT-ish. But he's reiterating, he's the one that's reorganizing the company into doing, focusing on trying to get projects out faster, basically. AAA Japanese projects faster. Actually, I don't think he's the guy. He's not the guy that he didn't sell off the Western divisions. That was his predecessor.
Yes.
And then that guy promptly got fired.
Because because they saw the financials afterwards and went, you sold off a division for dirt cheap
for short-term gains for the last quarter, and then immediately after that was done, the group that bought them announced big titles partnerships with Amazon.
Yeah, all this shit, and egg on his face
because like literally a couple weeks after, even though I think Embracer's having trouble with another deal, but I did check. Embracer, within like 2 weeks of Embracer picking up the studios, the first thing they announced was that Amazon signed a deal for exclusivity for the next Tomb Raider game.
Mm-hmm.
So Amazon Luna is going to get it, plus wherever they publish it to after. And that was apparently a 7-figure deal, multiple. So like we're talking somewhere in the $9 to $10 million, or maybe even more. So, well, 7 figures would be 9 million max, but for an exclusivity deal, not including the fact that they're paying to make it.
Yeah.
So they basically got their money back from buying it. Anyway, Square showed off tons of stuff, and then they dropped the demo at 4 a.m. our time, 1 a.m. Pacific. I've played it multiple times now. He's good.
People are really loving the demo. I've seen a couple of playthroughs of it, and people were not expecting how emotional.
Yeah, I've got. Oh, and by the way, I've got the sync thing working now. I had to go dig deep into forums to find out what was going on, and it's apparently an issue with the new ingest server, but I fixed it. So anyway, now you can watch when I stream all the videos in 1440p, 60 frames per second, with perfect sync.
Also, apparently, you chose the right option for the quality mode. Because if you played on performance mode, it runs like X.
Yeah, I did a run of that just before, like last night. I set it to private, and it worked okay. But I was like, wait a minute. It felt smoother. It actually looked more like 60 when playing it in 30, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Because of the frame timing. But anyway, that out of the way. Oh, and yeah, like Michael, you're going to love it because there's puppy.
Yeah.
You can't pet the puppy in the demo, though.
Oh.
Unfortunately. I don't know why.
Later?
Yeah, yeah. They showed it multiple times.
Oh, they'll fix that.
And like you get a chocobo, a nice little chocobo, a pretty girl chocobo, and like it's in the prologue, so I'm not spoiling anything. It's been out there, like you're saying, emotional moments. You meet the chocobo, you get to be friendly with it, and when you're attacked unceremoniously, it comes to protect you by knocking you out of the way when like rubble is coming at you, and it gets smacked in the face and loses an eye.
Oh.
And I was like, Birdie, no! Pretty bird, no! But then she gets up and she's like limping and gets taken away to safety. So I think you get her back later on. That and your puppy gets hurt a couple times, and I'm like, do not hurt the puppy. You've seen John Wick. This is not a good idea. Don't hurt the puppy. And then the puppy gets up and he's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like, Mike, if you install it, you'll love the demo.
Yeah, I was actually kind of thinking about doing it the other day, actually, but I got to start playing Diablo 4 for review this week.
Yeah, oh yeah, I've got stuff to review too, but it hasn't stopped me from playing the demo 4 times in 2 days.
Oh wow!
But yeah, it's about 2 hours to do the story demo, and then once you beat the story demo, which it saves your data that you can carry forward into the main game. You then get to unlock a special battle demo where they give you extra powers and stuff, and you play a different section of the game, but that can't be saved. But anyway, that's out of the way. That's 6 hours of Square Enix wrapped up. Plus, I'm in a contest, and I got like 200 entries into it now. So, fingers crossed, I can pull a Michael and actually win like a console. Cool. Well, they're giving away a console with side plates for Final Fantasy 16, as
cool.
well as the digital deluxe version of the game with the collector's statue or some shit.
Yeah, and they hit the limit of how many they were giving away within like not even an hour, not even 20 minutes.
Yeah, they were going to give away 3, I think, initially, and if they got like 600,000 entries, they would add an additional 4, and it was like 20 minutes in, they hit 1 million entries, and now they're at like 2.5 million entries.
Oh my god!
Like it went beyond the scope of what they were expecting.
Yeah.
And so that was cool. But anyway, that's Final Fantasy. That comes out next week. I'll be streaming the shit out of that starting midnight. And now we get into the Future of Play. Now, Future of Play was, I don't remember, I think that existed last year, but I don't
it existed
remember
last year.
I don't think it was as big.
There wasn't really much of anything significant last year.
Yeah, and this year it was, what did they show? It was they showed Yesuke. We're going to skip to just the ones that I remember. Cavern of Dreams was one.
That looked like an N64 game, but in the best way possible.
It looked like a lost Acclaim title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. So it's N64 collectathon platformer Banjo-Kazooie style game.
The one that I saw out of this show looked really cool to me was Psychroma, which has weird vibes of Doki Doki Literature Club to me.
Yep.
Yeah, it looks fucked up and weird. What more can I say? It's like this, I don't know, dystopian cyberpunk super noir, but mixed with like psyop bullshit. It's hard to describe. Like the trailer is so out there. I'm very curious to know what the storyline for this game's gonna be, but I'm in. Looks cool.
It's like cyberpunk if hand drawn by a 16-year-old in 1987.
Yeah, and like it is a thing.
There were other things shown that like
that Rune Fencer game looks cool.
Yeah. The Playdate had more games shown, which is that little device that you hand crank, which people thought was kind of dead, but it's got more stuff, which is nice. But again, if you're only getting games once a year and they're like little mini games, I don't know if it's worth picking up.
Yeah, but in Stars in Time, which was the monochromatic Etrian Odyssey like.
Yeah,
that looks weird. Cool though.
It almost looked like, what if you somehow mixed like JRPG elements
with Undertale?
Undertale and the Vectrix, like vector graphics. What was the other one? Was there? Oh yeah, Hermit and Pig.
Yeah,
that's the weird hand-drawn turn-based game.
It feels very Aardman.
Yeah, like almost like Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Was there anything else? There were a lot of weird like PS1 era looking stuff there.
Yeah, a lot of PS1 stuff. That's starting to become a thing now.
Yeah, so I mean, it was okay. It was an interesting start. I was like, okay, so there's some indies here that are worth watching. And like I said, the ones we picked are probably the cream of the crop. And then moving on to Wholesome. When we started watching Wholesome, they said we're going to be showing over 80 games, and I went, oh God, too much indie. But I mean, I love the fact that there's variety. And they did sort of break it down by having like sections of, here's a bunch of RPGs, here's a bunch of action games, here's a bunch of farm games, which is like, of the 80 games, like 70 games have farming in it. I'm trying to think, what did they show? They showed, this is the one where they had a pre-show, and I thought it was the whole show, and then it was over, and it's like, now the real show starts with 80 games, and I went, oh! Trying to think, was there something? Oh wait, yes, the Smush Come Home. That was the one where you, like a N64 platformer where you're playing as a mushroom and you learn about different funguses.
Yeah, as you play. Smooshy Come Home, which is very Mushroom Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, let me think.
And that shadow dropped.
Yeah,
so that's out now. On
a lot of frog
I
games. You noticed this year?
Yeah, a lot of frogs.
Not just at this show. Like a lot of frogs.
Not a bad thing. Garden Buddies was one that looked really interesting.
Karamazoo for me looked fun.
I mean, Karamazoo, that has been that's on the list of
and there was another game there that I was so happy to hear this IP being used, Little Nemo.
The Little Nemo game.
That looks sick. Like the original game on the NES is fantastic. It's one of the first animes I ever remember seeing being offered on a home shopping channel, which is kind of a weird throwback.
Yeah, Little Nemo scared the ever-loving crap out. That movie scared the ever-loving crap out of me as a kid.
And there was an NES game, wasn't there?
Yep, and it was fantastic. Late in the NES life cycle, and it's because people tend to forget that IP even exists, and when it does come up, it's really, really, really good. The game trailer for this, it's called Little Nemo and the Guardians of Slumberland. One of my favorite parts about that trailer, and it's so simple: whenever you quote unquote die, you wake up in the real world. Nemo gets up, pets his cat who's sleeping in the window, and then he goes back to bed.
Yeah,
to finish his dream.
It's basically like you wake up, you're having a nice dream, but then it turns into a nightmare. You wake up, you pet and hug your cat, you play in your room till you calm down and go right back in. And
that's really clever.
No harm, no foul. There's no game over screen. So instead of game over, you go. You wake up and get to play with your cat.
It works out great to me. It looks cool.
At the end, some of like the sizzle reel stuff. The one that stood out for me was Ducky's Delivery Service, which is, from what it looks like, it plays like Balloon Fight.
Oh yeah. That's right. I did see that very quickly at the end. And
that demo's out on Steam right now. Adding that to the list of demos that I'll probably just stream a whole bunch of demos.
Yeah, and I mean, there was, like I said, way more. There's like 80 games. We're just covering the highlights of what we saw. There were, like, I would say, even if not every game is for us, for the most part, the quality of what was shown was better than in previous years for indie titles.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, this year really caught me off guard because typically, Alex, whenever you send me trailers for PC type stuff or stuff that's more indie, I'll admit I'm a little dismissive, but in the last couple of years, you and Ken especially have really shown me there's some really fantastic work being done that isn't like Ubisoft, Capcom, or whoever. So again, this was a really surprising show for me.
Somebody's got to pick up the slack for what Ubisoft's been doing.
Yeah, and we are going to get there, folks. Don't you friggin' worry.
The final one for Saturday was the Future Games Show. This is the one that was sponsored by Intel. And this was the one that had Spider-Man and I guess
Mary Jane.
Yeah, Mary. I was going to say
literally, it's Spider-Man and Mary Jane from the games.
Well, I was going to say, and basically every voice in a game that's a girl that's not Jennifer Hale or Tara Strong, right?
Yeah.
And they hosted it in the most standard host cringe way possible. Yeah.
They weren't that cringe. We'll talk about the cringe later. But
my takeaway is I finally understood why Spider-Man had his likeness changed, because I didn't realize he's like 1 million years old.
Yeah, Yuri is getting up there.
He's like 53 or 54 or something like that. And I mean, like, he doesn't look old, but like when you look at him, you're like, oh, like why was anybody complaining that they wanted to have Peter Parker look like he was 25 and not 50?
I mean, like, frankly, I've gotten used to the new face, but but when you play, it was more just a jarring thing where you change something that all these people experienced such an emotional high with.
I think it's that, like, I get why they did it, because they did a new mocap and they're like with the much like, apparently
there's much more detail.
The original version used half the polygon count and half the textures. So in increasing the quality, they're like, wait, he looks older because he is older, but that was blockable when it was like blurry, right? So, but anyway, what was shown here?
Whatever article you put up in our chat was wrong, because that doesn't have a list.
I was like, I don't know what I'm looking at.
Well, that's weird. The link was everything shown at the Future Games Show, and then they changed the title once I actually went on it. 1 second here.
The
because
bastard.
there was stuff in this show that was at the Japanese indie showcase.
Yeah. I'm just loading up this Steam page, to be perfectly frank.
I got it here. I'll relink it in. Where's my keyboard at? Ah.
Oh, right. I remember this one because Alex did not like this one.
This one, I think Alex sent me, of all the trailers, I think there was like maybe 3 that looked cool. The one that I really liked, I love the art style. I don't know if I'm going to love the gameplay. It's called Resistor.
Yeah.
And that looks cool.
That was probably, like, was it P-Cube, I think,
Yeah.
putting that one out?
Yeah. P-Cube.
Surprisingly, that was like one of the highest budgeted looking games there, and I'm like, from P-Cube? And then I was like, oh, it's going to be downhill from it. Like, not that looked bad, but it was like, that's it. This is an Intel sponsored event, and that's what you got. Lords of the Fallen, yada yada. A lot of stuff that we'd already seen, just with like, here's slightly more information.
Headbangers looks hilarious.
That looks cool. Yeah.
Yes,
I'm into that. Was this the one where they showed that it's a rhythm game, but it has a lot of licensed music in it? Was it called Invector or whatever?
Yeah, where you're like racing to the rhythm on the beat, and it's
like
that
looks sick.
I was like, it felt like it
audio surf.
Yeah, because it wasn't just that you're racing to the beat; it was like slightly altering the tempo and pace and things. And I'm like, okay, so it's like, what if you mixed Guitar Hero or like some other dance game with Rez?
Yeah. So it looked really cool. Like, this is always the show every year I just kind of tune out. This year, like I said, the thing that only caught my attention was the game that Ken mentioned, Headbangers. Resistor looked cool. The Invector game. On Guard, I love the art style of it.
Yeah, see, I like the art style too, and Alex was poo-pooing in our chat.
Me no likey at all. But that's just me. I was like, ooh, you look no. But yeah, there was, and it was a lot of meh everything else. And I was like, okay.
I mean, Bookwalker, I like the concept. I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like nothing went like
wow. A huge chunk of these all have demos out on Steam right now. So
and, like, I was most impressed by like some of the really, really small RPG stuff, like stuff that I know I'll be able to complete in 10 hours or less, but have a unique experience. I was expecting more, but I mean, I guess there's too many showcases showing too many small games for us to get like super in. But then, I was like, okay, well, that's the indie stuff out of the way. And then we move on to Sunday, and it's like, what's Xbox going to show? Because they promised a lot of gameplay, and sort of gameplay. They're like, you showed us gameplay, but they chopped a lot of. I'll say this before we go into everything on there. They chopped a lot of the gameplay up in a lot of the previews where you don't actually see how it actually plays. It's like, here's gameplay footage. But if
one big game to be one game specifically got really chopped up, and it's just like, really, like, no more than like 5 seconds of gameplay at a time.
Yeah, and I'll get to we'll get to that, but I would say overall it was probably better than Sony and the Summer Game Fest combined, except for the fact that like you might have a game or two you were super hyped for, like Final Fantasy and those. But so they opened with Fable.
Yep.
And I was like, okay. And I don't understand why everybody online is saying how beautiful it is, because the main character's face is so ugly.
Be careful, Alex, because people are attacking others that are saying that kind of shit.
Saying what? Like, I'm not saying
people are pulling the same crap that they did with Aloy.
This has nothing to do with that. Like,
this has nothing to do with that.
The Aloy stuff was like, I don't think a woman should look like that. This is not what this is. This is like, characters' faces are gaudy. They don't look human. Like, this isn't about this looking like a pretty traditional girl. I don't like the art.
Yeah, you just don't like the art style at all.
And I feel it's like it looks very janky. And it doesn't really surprise me because this is a studio that is never ever done human models before. Everything
they have
is,
technically, because there are humans that show up in Forza.
They don't do faces.
They don't do faces very well.
That's my I am a face snob when it comes to games nowadays. I've realized that Andromeda ruined me. And from then on, I'm like, oh, get the goddamn faces right. Like, in a sense, Anthem was a better game because the faces look better. but yeah, like, well, I think what was drawing to me is how good they got. I forget the actor's name. In this,
from
Richard
Silicon Valley,
Ayoade, I think.
Yeah.
He looks great because it's a mocap version of him, but when they switched to all the player characters, and I only singled out the main character from this because they focused on her as like the principal in most of the scenes, but every other human face in this looks terrible.
Yeah, the other faces I think look pretty bad.
Like they look like they belong in Fable 2 or 3, and I'm like, ew. But other than that, I mean, they showed us technically gameplay, but I don't know what it actually plays like. No
UI, no nothing like that. So It's just like it could be faux gameplay for all we friggin' know.
And I don't think it had a date. I think, did it say 2024?
Next year, yeah.
So Mike, did you see that? What did you think?
Honestly, I don't recall that one because like a lot of the Xbox showcase for me just kind of flew by. The game that really jumped out at me particularly, can I jump to the Star Wars reveal? Can we talk about that for like a couple minutes?
Yeah, and then we'll go back and we'll skimp over the other stuff.
Yeah, because this is a game that, okay, let's admit Ubisoft, when they do a map game, and that's a fairly new kind of term, like, here's a giant map, clear it out, do whatever. When I heard they were getting a Star Wars licensed game, I was really afraid it was just going to be Far Cry with a Star Wars skin on it. When they showed Outlaws, what it actually is, this is something new. This is something different. I've never seen anything quite kind of like this before with the Star Wars IP. Like, it's a heist game, and if you go in with your blasters blazing, given the character's probably squishy nature, I was like, that's not going to end well for you. You have to think about it.
Yeah, you can see the Watch Dogs DNA in it.
Yeah, and I was like, this is amazing. And when I was watching the trailers last night, like I watched them a few different times, I can pinpoint exactly when this happens. This happens before Return of the Jedi, obviously, because Han Solo's in Carbonite, but it happens probably, if he's being brought to Tatooine, this would happen just before the assault on the second Death Star. And I don't know whether you guys noticed it. They brought in the Pike Syndicate, who were the characters from the book of Boba Fett. I guess they're trying to retroactively add them into the universe to make them a threat. But yeah, I was like really impressed. Like there's a lot of nice Easter eggs in there too that I noticed. And if it plays the way that I think it's going to, this could give Jedi Survivor a run for its money.
You can also see like Jedi Survivor DNA in there.
Yeah, and like it's astounding to think we finally taken Star Wars games from a point where you're not just replaying the movies or you're playing some expanded universe stuff and it's just bleh. It's moved it beyond the FPS and the space fighter. Like Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order was obviously that Soulsborne worked, and it worked. It was great, and with the more accessibility options in the other games, great. And then with this, it's moving it towards that Watch Dogs, Grand Theft Auto, open world thing, and it's the Star Wars game that I've always wanted.
With almost like a hint of like BioWare style of just like the narration and having your ship as your base and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, like I'm wondering what the RPG elements are going to be like in it. Like, because when they were showing some of the gameplay, it goes quest completed, the broker. I'm wondering if you get consequences if you do quest A. Will that affect quest B somewhere down the line? Because you're dealing with different huts and syndicates and everything.
Well, they hinted that you couldn't go back to that planet.
Oh. So once you're gone, you're gone.
Because they double crossed somebody.
Yeah, see, that is friggin' cool. I love that idea.
So, and if that's the case, and it's like, hey, you double cross them, you can't go back. Well, what if you help them? Does that mean you can't go to another planet that's run by somebody else? Maybe.
Yeah, there's so much in this, and depending on who's writing the game script, I could see a lot of really nice synergy that'll probably pay off in like The Mandalorian. It'll pay off in like Ahsoka or some shit like that. Guaranteed there'll be some crossover with Disney Plus at some point if the character is successful. Right. But yeah, ultimately I think that was one of the biggest surprises for me. One of the other things, and Alex, because I tuned into the Xbox showcase about 10 minutes late. You weren't kidding when you said I missed a lot. Is it weird to say Fable kind of has me interested now? Kind of. And I didn't really care for those games before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, we haven't seen how it actually plays, even though they showed gameplay.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. And I don't know. It's strange because I remember I went to an Xbox press conference. This would have been about 2007, maybe 2008. And they were really trying to get you to play Fable 2 and Fable 3 or whatever it was at the time. And they were basically throwing out pub games at you.
I remember it was the Kinect one.
Yeah, and I was like, what in the hell? And it was just so irritating.
Is that the event where you ended up with like 20 copies of Blue Dragon?
You know what? It might be actually. It might very well be. Like, stop giving me these things. They're filling my bags.
But yeah, like I mean, it looks good. Like the other things, we'll quickly skim over. Cyberpunk had the final trailer for the one and only the one and only expansion, with the date of September.
Which I'm surprised that's so soon.
I mean, I think it's coming out.
They literally, what they did was they stopped doing production on anything else but the DLC and using the DLC as their basically overhaul patch.
Yeah, apparently, like when you get the DLC, it's going to patch the main game with like the final performance patches.
Oh wow! Which in anticipation of this, I actually went out and bought the PlayStation 4/PlayStation 5 version of Cyberpunk on my PlayStation 5 because I've got my main save file on my Xbox Series X where I've done everything, but now I might go through the game on a different life path.
Also, Mike, it's all through. There's cloud saves for Cyberpunk now.
Oh,
so
shit!
If you sign into your GOG account, you have cloud saves and you can move them between console and PC.
Oh wow!
Which is good. And I mean, I am somebody who played it on both platforms. As far as consoles go, the PS5 is still performing better than the Xbox.
Which is weird. I never had one problem during my entire period.
And I mean,
I'm the weird outlier.
Yeah.
Well, you also played it.
I think. Yeah. And like I picked it up on PC because it was just like, hey, it's 30. The main game is 50% off with when you buy the DLC, it's less than the full price of the game, and it was just like, fuck it.
You basically got Game of the Year pricing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So outside of that, they showed off. I'll highlight just a couple things. There's an Xbox Series S coming, a black one with a terabyte, so double the space, at the same price of the current consoles. They're probably going to clearance out everything.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants the white one. The black one matches most people's other consoles anyway. The
Compulsion showed us two things south of midnight.
That looks sick.
It's almost like a claymation game.
Yeah, it's like when I was watching it, I'm trying to figure out what the gameplay might be about. I'm guessing kind of like that game we talked about the other day, that Banisher game. I wonder if you're excising souls or if you're looking for monsters in the swamp or something.
At the same time, it's like, hey, Xbox, didn't you say that you were not going to have a showcase where 90% of what you show is just CGI with no gameplay? Because that had no gameplay.
Yeah, that's true.
They said no CG trailers. That was technically an engine.
Oh, that's great.
Engine
means nothing.
Bullshit. Yeah, exactly.
Forza looks good because Forza's Forza. We can skip that.
Don't even care.
There were a lot of
Microsoft Flight Simulator actually looks fun.
The new one.
Yeah, that looks
and for
2024.
Confused, it's not an expansion. They're back to the way they used to.
I thought it was an expansion at first.
Anybody who's our age or older would remember that every 3 to 4 years they put out a new version, and it's just named based on the year it comes out. So this is the 2024 edition. It is not an expansion. It's a completely new game, new SKU, new game engine.
Yep.
And it
and
has
then there will also, and then for Flight Simulator, the last one, they're rolling out Dune DLC,
which is kind of crazy. Like, I never thought I'd get to fly the Ornithopter or whatever the fuck it's called, the Dragonfly helicopter, and you get to fly on Arrakis, which is cool. Now, if I get to go through the cities of Arrakis, that'd be really neat. But that's cool though.
Yeah,
I'm in.
I'm gonna rapid fire a few things that we don't really need to mention, just that they're there. Banner Saga creators have a new game,
Towerborn. That looks fine.
Yeah, looks fine. You might.
It looks like Castle Crashers, basically.
Yeah. Fallout 76. Who cares?
They're going to Jersey. Because they're going to Atlantic City.
I will say, I'm surprised that game is still going as well as it is. I just don't like the gameplay loop in that game. I like the world and setting, but
people have gone back and went, yeah, this is all right.
I mean,
would have liked some more. Would have liked this if there was more Fallout-y-ness to it.
Wouldn't it have been great if it was actually a proper Fallout game 4 years ago?
Yeah, exactly. Like if it had been a proper Fallout game with the option to play online, cool, but to make it an online game for the most part, and if you haven't really played it consistently since launch, you're going to be so far behind. The only way to make it fun, in my opinion, is probably to buy your own world and just fight the enemies there. Like, it's just, you'd be so under leveled to fight anything.
Yeah.
But one thing Bethesda does, whenever they do anything Fallout IP, they knock it out of the park when it comes to advertising every single time. Now, that being said, I'm really surprised, in addition to showing the Fallout 76 trailer thing there, I'm surprised they didn't say, hey guys, here's a 30-second sizzle reel of the Fallout TV show. That would have wowed people.
Yeah, I think that show is woefully far behind.
I'm wondering now at this point.
Because of the strikes and everything.
COVID, everything.
I believe they finished principal photography.
Yeah, they finished principal photography, but I think they're... It basically, there's a whole bunch of mess, and also Amazon, we know that the production is with Amazon have not been great.
Yeah, the $1 billion that they spent on Lord of the Rings, and the show ended up being one of the worst shows ever made on a budget of $1 billion.
Yeah.
It wasn't $1 billion that they paid for the rights. It's $1 billion they paid to produce the show.
Yeah,
because
they fucked over the New Zealand government too.
Yeah, so there's a lot of shit in that show. You know that I've never met a single person that watched more than one episode of it.
I couldn't get through the first episode. It was that bad.
I think Shannon and Sam did, but they're like, Michael, this sucks.
Yes, and they're super fans.
Yeah.
So
I was like,
but yes, so Don't Nod revealed another game, called Jusant, which is a climbing game that's going to Game Pass.
That looks weird. It's not my type of game, but
it's free on Game Pass if you're already a member. Don't think of it as something you would subscribe to Game Pass for. If you already are, then it's free.
It's a bonus.
The things that really had me excited in the showcase, more so than anything else, honestly, was the Persona 5 game, Persona 5 Tactical.
Yeah,
that looks fun. That looks so cool.
P5 Tactica looks
it's a sequel story and fully voiced with the original people. And then Persona 3, the remake is on there.
And that looks cool too.
It looks to be in the Persona
5 style.
5 engine.
5 engine without
the extra stuff.
Without the extra art for the transitions, at least from what we could see. But now, it's in the engine for sure.
It definitely is in the engine.
Now, from what I've read, it's not going to have the extra stuff that was in the P3 PSP remake, I hear.
Yeah, so it doesn't have the extra story. It doesn't have FMC. However, it's still good. I would still say, like, just play Reload when it comes out for P3 kind of thing.
Yeah, playing the portable remaster like I did.
Even on PC with the portable remaster, where you can restore all of the anime cutscenes, just don't.
It's too much text. What they did with that version is it's wall of text and only part of it is voiced because it's just the PSP version brought over. And they removed in the PSP version and the every one since then until this, the ability to walk around anywhere that isn't the dungeon. So it's point and click to go everywhere. I was so bored, except for like the story was fine and the gameplay, like the battles were fine. This is just fully realized world. I get the feeling that there are going to be tweaks to the story and the dialogue, and it looks to be fully voiced, like completely this time.
Also, they have stated Vic's not coming back to voice his character.
Good.
For good reason.
Yeah. For
that's all we're going to say about that.
For controversial reasons, like it or hate it, it's probably a good idea at this point.
Yeah.
And outside of that, from Sega, they also showed off Like a Dragon, which I did finally get confirmation. It is Like a Dragon 8 or Yakuza 8.
Okay.
I mean,
we're gonna see it tomorrow.
Yeah, they're gonna show it tomorrow at like midnight here when they have their own showcase. But it does appear to take place in Hawaii,
which is cool. And I don't know, maybe because I think Alex, you told me to check out Like a Dragon anyway. You said I'd have a lot of fun with it.
It's on PS Plus.
Yeah, but I think I've got the PS Plus version downloaded to my PlayStation. So maybe I'll give it a play next month.
The most common weapons until late in the game that you can use that are powerful are sex toys.
Yep.
Well, you just sold me on that. I'm in.
Literally, you get like sex maid outfits for the girl.
You
get like leather chaps and stuff.
Like the first weapon shop you get is a sex shop.
Oh my god!
So you are literally using like dildos and like one person gets a French tickler as a whip.
Oh my god, I'm so in. This sounds so weird. I'm in.
The first party member you recruit is an alcoholic, homeless friend of yours whose powers include belching, barfing, and having his unclean body stink up so bad that everybody on the map gets barfy.
Oh my god.
Also attack you with pigeons.
Yes, he calls his friends, and his friends are just a swarm of pigeons. And by calling them, he just throws breadcrumbs on you, and then they come and attack you.
Oh my god. The other game that I saw during the Xbox showcase, and I've never played a game in this series. The trailer kind of sold me on it a little bit, especially since it's coming to Game Pass day one. Payday 3 looks actually kind of fun.
That does look fun for sure. They finally revealed the Atlas game. I think it was called Project Re Fantasy.
Yes.
That was announced in 2015, I think, or 2016.
Yeah.
And it finally got announced, and it has an even stupider name, Metaphor Re Fantasio.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell is this?
It looks like Shin Megami Tensei Mainline mixed with Persona.
Yeah, I'm like, okay.
Yep.
It's going to be weird. The frame rate looks rough on the Xbox.
But I know this is not stuff that you guys are interested in, but Hellblade 2 got a new look at it.
I'm interested. It was a boring trailer, except for the binaural audio part of it.
But to me, that I got chills.
Oh no, it's very well put together. Why isn't the game out? This. Look, what I don't get is this game's been in development for 6 years.
Yeah, I mean, look, if it's I think they're going full price game with this. That's why.
Yeah, last one wasn't, but also what concerned me is that this didn't get a date. They said next year. I don't think so.
I think it's early next year.
The woman that introduced it said they just finished mocap shooting.
Yeah.
5 years or whatever into development. So how much of the previous trailer 2 years ago or 3 years ago was a lie? How much of it was
I don't think it. I think about 50%.
You know what I mean? Like they mocked it up just for that. I don't. Who knows if that was even in the game?
I'm saying it's about 50%. But also it's just I think Microsoft has been trying to shift its tune when it comes to their acquisitions after the failure of Redfall.
Yeah, it makes sense that they want better quality control, which is fine. It'll be here when it's ready. I'm happy for it.
Yes.
Sea of Thieves is getting a Monkey Island crossover event,
which was surprising. Cool. It makes sense.
Cool for people that want to play that. I mean, I don't know how many people do, but it's one of the few success stories they've had from live service. Oh, did you see that? I think I sent the trailer, Mike, for that co-op game, the 33-player co-op game.
Yeah, the 33 Immortals or something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Curious, not enough to play it, but okay, sure.
I'll watch a stream and see what people think. And the last two that I think we should mention here before we talk about the big one is In Exile showed off that they're making basically a time travel BioShock game.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
Okay.
Is this a sequel to Infinite?
The dude that cut the original BioShock Infinite trailer posted on his Twitter a whole bunch of side-by-sides. It's straight up the BioShock Infinite trailer.
Yeah. And I mean, it looks fun and weird, and I want to see how the time travel aspect works. It's not something that In Exile's ever really done before. So that'll be fun. Avowed was the biggest game as far as gameplay shown.
Yeah, yes. Avowed looked cool. Definitely elements of Skyrim and Elder Scrolls there.
In the trailer, they had him do the kick, the Sparta kick, and there were moments that were almost pulled right from Skyrim.
And I mean, they literally there was a interview with some of the devs at Obsidian that came out after the showcase, and they were saying, "Yeah, we were literally making Skyrim, but we kind of pulled back a little bit in terms of size of the game."
Yeah. So Skyrim,
kind of put it out the door,
but with Obsidian / BioWare sized game.
Yeah,
which is good. And it's coming next year, but it looks really far along because that is a game where we got to see a fair amount of gameplay. We just didn't see all the HUDs.
Yeah. Capcom revealed their Okami / Onimusha kind of game.
Yeah. Which looks interesting. Path of the
Goddess.
Which we'll talk about briefly after. I mean, cool. Not much is known really yet. And then the big thing was Starfield.
Which
I'm 45 minutes showcase where not more than 3 seconds of footage at a time were shown.
Yep.
A lot of really cool stuff. Honestly, I'll get my spiel out really quickly, and then you guys can talk amongst yourselves, because I think the ability to go into space and do piracy or go for tea parties can be really fun. I like the stuff that involves space travel. The fact that they did reveal that they're going to show quest markers on certain planets. Only certain planets will be key planets, and that all those fucking 100,000 whatever other planets are all going to just be like for you to get resources from that are basically dead planets. Okay, fine, you can skip all that shit if you don't want to do it. As well as just the overall UI aesthetic is very clean. I really like the UI. It's finally a Bethesda game where you can read the text properly. And my biggest complaint is the fact that, well, other than the stupid faces, the faces look so stiff and they can barely move, and it looks like something from 2005, and the eyes are dead and look like glass eyes that have like no life in them. Is that this for this 45 minutes they were showing off all this stuff, they only spent about 20 seconds talking about the story, and the story is fucking Mass Effect. It is just you as a person in space exploring. It's like before you found the mass relay. You found an artifact that when you touched it from what appears to be an intelligent alien race gave you a vision, and now you're having to go find out what it is. It's fucking Mass Effect. And then they did 20 seconds of that, and then just never talked about the story again, and just said, you can romance people. And they had the worst cringy dialogue and stiff animation that I've ever seen. Like, everybody at BioWare would be laughing at them. And that's all I have to say about that.
I think it looks pretty cool. I'm interested to see what's out there. I mean, one of the big reasons I'm into it is, like, I've made it no secret on the show, I'm a huge space buff. So I'd be very curious to see how much of the science is interesting if you go to some of these unexplored worlds that are resource rich, but there's no life on them, just to see if you run into anything really weird, if there's like interesting spatial anomalies out there. Basically, yeah, it's Star Trek meets Mass Effect for this game, with a little bit of an alien aesthetic thrown in there as well. I don't know. I'm optimistic.
This is something that is in the kind of sort of revealed with the PC version. This is going to be an online only thing because it's probably using cloud to generate stuff.
Oh, also, Michael, Series X, 30 FPS, no other options. They won't be releasing.
Yep, console will be locked to 30 FPS.
They're locking it to lower visual settings because because Bethesda can't be bothered to be good programmers and figure out how to actually make it work.
That's so lame and unacceptable in 2023.
And they're calling it a feature.
Yay! And I decided
how they're actually marketing it, Michael, is it's a 30 FPS game, but on PC, if you choose to, you as a bonus feature you can turn on 60 mode. Not that they had to scale it back because they built it on a PC and realized that they weren't good at coding for their hardware.
I mean, Bethesda has always been kind of a PC first.
Well, if
studio.
It works, if it ends up working, but here's what worries me. If that's their case, do you think it's actually going to hit 30? Or are we going to get like 20 FPS PS3 flashbacks?
I don't know.
Either way, we will know come September because we're probably going to all play it for free on Game Pass.
Yeah, I
think the lore looks great, by the way, Michael. I do agree with you.
Yeah, like, one of the other things I want to talk about, like, just before the stream ended for Xbox, they did a reveal of the Starfield official controller, and not as expensive as I was expecting.
Just an extra 10, like most of their special edition controllers.
And then they unveiled the again, beautiful looking, very Atari-esque vibes.
Also an extra $10.
And then they revealed the collector's edition, which comes with the chronometer from the game. You get a steelbook display case, not the actual game on disc, and you get a bunch of other crap. And that is $399 Canadian. No. It's not a smartwatch. If it was a smartwatch like an Apple Watch, maybe. If it was lower quality, yeah, sure. Like, it does have some interactive elements to deal with your phone, but I also did this with the Fallout Pip-Boy when Fallout 4 came out in 2014, and I could just put an app on my phone and mount it in my Pip-Boy. I don't know, man. That's cool, but not $400 cool.
How long is it before you pre-order it, and what they end up sending you is made out of cardboard and moldy because they couldn't source the plastic?
Like, I know that collector's edition, if it hasn't sold out by the time this show goes up, it will. The prices for that are going to go stupid on the secondary market.
Oh yeah, and no physical release, by the way.
Best Buy US hasn't. Best Buy US has not put them up for sale. Amazon is currently just setting it as unavailable. I don't think it's up for pre-order yet. As of this recording,
you don't get a copy of the game in that position. It's digital only.
Yeah, which is so dumb.
It's digital only for everything but the standard.
Yeah. So
if
I don't know.
I'm paying you $300 or $400, you can afford to give me 50 cents of plastic.
Pretty much. This better come on a disc, minimum. Like, come on, guys.
I don't understand how they can possibly think that that's okay. Like, if I ever got to interview Phil, I would ask him flat out, on the record, what makes you think you can justify that when your internal cost is less than $1? And if his answer
you could ask that to literally any gaming studio whatsoever.
Yeah. He's the best one to ask because apparently he's not afraid to say stupid shit when he fucks up on them.
That is true.
And he might tell you because our market says it's okay for us to do it because that's what our player. Yeah, because your fans are stupid and they're willing to do it.
But also, like, as we've evolved into literally what Microsoft predicted way too early, that everyone was going to go digital.
Yeah, if I was not a reviewer, if we were not receiving press access to things or early things, I would be getting physical only. I would not be getting digital. The only reason for me, it's not even a convenience thing. It's because this is how the industry works. So I have to accept that because we're press media. But I understand why a lot of people are getting pissed. They're like, "What am I buying? I'm buying a license with the rights, and that's it."
And those can be revoked at any time. So
exactly,
and it has happened where people have lost access to their games. I know Sony pulled this bullshit with the PlayStation 4 with the playable trailer. Even if you download it to your account, it's gone. So they can yank these licenses at any time. I know I've lost DLC because of it.
Yeah, I still have PT on a hard drive. So,
but it's like,
other than
what's going to happen?
But once that drive rots, it's gone forever.
So I know people have already gone in the piracy scene and backed it up, and there's going to be
of course
backups places, but like I know what you mean. And then I guess we'll see. I would say overall their showcase was the strongest, even though they didn't have as much. They had a lot of games, some with gameplay, very little release dates for most things.
Yeah.
So we're still in a similar boat than we were the last couple of years, where they don't really have anything beyond.
I mean,
beyond a few vague coming in 2024 things.
Yeah, and we've got Starfield, and then in November it's P5 Tactica.
Yeah. November P5 Tactica and Forza is what, October?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it. So sure, whatever. And then let's go to the PC thing.
I didn't even take notes for this one.
Don't need to. It was the most cringe, horrifying, like screaming in my brain. I hated it so bad. Hosted event I've seen. There was nothing, and I say
it was
truly nothing of note to watch.
Literally nothing. And it was hilarious reading the chat because they were just like, "Why do all these games look like they came out 10 years ago?"
The only thing of note was the game from the StarCraft people, and that had a very lackluster presentation too. Vampire Survivors getting an update with some DLC for like $2.
more DLC, because that's fine. Like, that game deserves every single bit of money you can spend on it.
And there was nothing else of note shown. This is the first time, and you could say, "Oh, Dune, that was boring." Watching that like,
Dune, we already knew about.
There is literally, this is the first PC game show in E3 history where I can say that there was absolutely nothing of note revealed.
Yep.
So moving on.
Also, please stop trying to be Devolver. You're not Devolver.
Yeah, you're not Devolver. Like, the only thing that was remotely entertaining was in the credits, like when their show was over and they revealed the bloopers where the host had farted and made everybody stunk out the whole fucking building. And he's like, "Oh, sorry, it smells like an abandoned pig farm here." And I was like, that's a funnier joke than you had in the entire show. And then moving on. So Square Enix was after. I watched 6 hours of that. And then the next day, we had two of the big ones, Michael. Ubisoft and Capcom. Did you watch the Ubisoft one?
I did, actually. And the only note I have from that is Assassin's Creed in VR looks actually kind of neat. Sure.
Although, Michael, that's not the actual game.
What got me mad, hilariously, yeah.
It's not even. Go ahead. That's not even CG from the game. That is concept art of what the game might look like.
Oh, that's lame.
They admitted they not only had they even said, big little note at the bottom, it's not gameplay and not CG from the game.
Yep. I literally wrote in my notes, "Oh, hey, you get to play your favorite AC characters like Connor, the one that literally everyone hates."
Except me. I really like Connor, but I'm indigenous, so that's my excuse.
Well, you can like a character but hate the game.
You can like the character.
Which is unfortunate because
AC3 almost made me give up on the franchise.
Which is weird because that's one of the games that I think had some of the best historical research for certain aspects.
Oh, for sure. For certain aspects.
But that ending chases bullshit.
I love that era of American history.
Mm-hmm.
It hurt my soul playing that game.
The other thing, I liked what they showed on Assassin's Creed Mirage, where you can do that mark and execute. That's very much a throwback to Splinter Cell Blacklist and Splinter Cell Conviction. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
looking forward to that.
Basically, AC Mirage is, hey, let's redo the first AC game, but use all the other shit that we made in the other games.
And then also take a year from when it was supposed to originally come out to make the animations even smoother.
Yeah, I mean, it looks cool. I'm in.
It's that and Star Wars Outlaws are the two that actually look like actually good,
like
in terms of just lookers.
Yeah. Now I am so sick, and this is probably just a personal pet peeve. Okay, you want to make a car game, cool, but you're never going to be Gran Turismo. You're never going to be Forza.
And you're never going to be Need for Speed, which is what they're trying to make.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, fine. I'm the Crew Motorfest, and your cars. I don't give a shit. I don't. And you're irritating. I hate your hosts. Although, one game I'm interested, because I saw the movie earlier this year. The Avatar game doesn't look terrible. I'm curious to know what the story is, because she talks about, I've been asleep for 15 years. I'm like, so when does this take place then? So
the graphics are so blurry. And I watched the press trailer after, and I realized they're using the engine from, what was it?
Far Cry, maybe?
No, Breakpoint.
Breakpoint, yeah. And then also, let's talk about how they had this friggin' lines when you were flying like it was Anthem all over again, and you're barely fucking moving.
Also, Mike, did you look? The grass moves in waves, not as individual grass pieces. It's chunks of, like, they downscaled it. And then I looked it up. The studio that was handling it was Massive originally.
Okay.
And they were moved over to Star Wars very early in production after they released the teaser. And the game had a massive graphical downgrade in the last... And it was
also
even with the graphical downgrade, it's been delayed 13 months from when it was supposed to come out.
Yeah,
and I was looking at the gun, there was a gun model that some of the gun models, like the texture work is just atrocious. It looks like it came out 20 years ago.
Yeah,
it still could be fun, but like,
yeah,
and I know
it's not going to be a looker.
I know Avatar 2 made money, but people are like, the problem with Avatar 2 making money is people don't realize that most of that wasn't in North America.
Yeah,
it's the franchise is basically dead in its key markets. Like, unless this game sells in China, nobody cares about Avatar enough to buy a $90 video game.
The thing that happens with Avatar, and you have to synergize it just right to take advantage of when it's hot. If this game was coming out, honestly, when the movie was released, it might move more units. But the fact that it's coming out
its
almost
original
a year,
release date,
yeah, like
here's the secret: it's a direct prequel to the second movie, and it was supposed to come out 6 weeks before the movie, and it never did.
That's gonna kill it, which is unfortunate, but. Because I liked the other Avatar game way back in the PS3.
I actually did too. Like, I'm not shitting on it for the sake of it. I looked at this and went, you bait and switched me. You pulled, like, this is like classic E3 shit. Like, this doesn't look anything like the game that you showed before. It still looks good. If you had only shown me this, I would have been like, oh, okay, it's a movie tie-in game. Problem was, they were using this game to show off the newest version of the Snowdrop engine. Mm-hmm. And if you go back and you can see like the original teasers where they showed the landscape and all that, and it said that was in-game engine. I don't see that now. I don't see it working. And it's like you had to delay it for like almost a year and a half, and it still looks worse. And then you couldn't even get Jim Cameron to show up in LA in person. You had to get a pre-recorded clip of him because he's probably so fucking done with your studio fucking over his release schedule. Like, there's no way he's okay with them, because it was a key part of his marketing for the movie. And
you're lucky Disney didn't pull Star Wars off your ass.
Yeah, so that's why I think they moved Massive over to the game that is much more important, because it's not a movie tie-in. But yeah, like it's there's interesting aspects. I think it'll be worth checking out if we get review copies, obviously. What I see is the last vestiges of the bad Ubisoft, where they were just recycling engines over and over and over again with it.
Yeah. I'm really happy with how Prince of Persia Lost Crown looks.
Yes.
In terms of gameplay. It is a $60 game, just FYI.
Yeah, in Canada, interestingly enough, $69. Regular, so it's actually cheaper. It's $20 lower than a full retail game is up here now.
Interesting.
And that's including the Switch tax on the Switch.
Yep. They showed off some first look at the Blood Dragon anime series.
That looks cool, Captain Laserhawk.
Yep.
I thought that the guy presenting it was going to have a heart attack on stage.
Yeah, Adi Shankar is not good at presenting stuff. He fully admits that. He hates doing it, but somehow he gets stuck doing it a lot.
It ended up being pretty interesting. I mean, it's Netflix, so we'll just binge it when it comes.
Yeah, whenever it comes.
And I mean, outside of that, there wasn't much. Oh, Skull and Bones got delayed again with no date and just a beta, and their entire presentation was people doing a sea shanty 2 years after sea shanties were a thing.
Yeah.
And Michael, I'll send you the clip. If you haven't seen them do the sea shanty,
yeah.
Did you see them do the sea shanty?
No, I don't recall that.
There's a guy with a deep voice, and they just do a sea shanty, and in the background, one guy just keeps repeating "Skull and Bones, Skull and Bones, Skull and Bones" over and over and over again. That was the whole Skull and Bones presentation. Was a 3-minute cringe song of a sea shanty that would have been popular in April of 2020.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Also, there's the AC codename Jade, aka "We're making this for China."
Yeah.
Yeah. They showed off the VR thing, and then they're like, and there's a new way to play Assassin's Creed on mobile. Crickets from the crowd, and it's based in China.
And it's not even
about Chinese
and what's worse
history.
is it's about Chinese history. Also, it's not even made by Ubisoft themselves. They subcontracted it out.
Yeah, and then crickets.
Yeah,
It was the same when
90% of this presentation was crickets.
Oh, when you open the show with the Pandora game, and then the person hosting it or person presenting it says, "Coming December of this," and there's audible boos from the press.
Yeah.
On top of the fact that I love how they paraded a bunch of women on stage for the games that look like dog crap.
And it was all part of their whole thing about how they're like, look at how our culture has changed. And and they're bringing people. The women that came out to present are women that came and took over projects for. And it's like, oh, why? Who are they? I've never seen them before. Oh, they took over for the person that was horrendous. And it's like, maybe don't even have somebody hosting those games until they're out. And like, you want to forget the games exist, basically. I'm trying to think, was there anything else that was shown? Oh yeah, Rayman DLC for the Kingdom Battle, which is good. That's coming for Sparks of Hope coming in the fall. And like, that was it. And then just a really, 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 really good showcase for Star Wars. Probably one of the games of the entire season.
And also, they literally said just about everyone is working on this game.
Yeah, it was every studio. Every studio, from looking at it, like except for the Spanish studio that did Sparks of Hope.
Yep, Spanish studio and Montpellier. And the two that had shit going on already.
Yeah, Montpellier in France and and the two Quebec studios.
Yeah.
Because was one of them? I can't remember. One of them was doing support work on Prince of Persia, both Prince of Persias. And I guess Ubi Montreal had nothing to show. Is it Ubi Montreal that's working on Splinter Cell?
Yes.
No.
Or is it?
No, it is Ubisoft Toronto. And the only reason I know this because they literally just posted a job notice on Twitter saying, by the way, guys, we're hiring for Splinter Cell.
Okay, because Toronto did support work for Star Wars, but just the mocap stuff.
Yes.
So that makes sense as that's their next big project. So then that means, is it the Witch one? Like was it the Hexen or something like that? Isn't that the next, or is it Red? Is Red the next one? Whatever one is the next one, the next Prince of Persia, that's what Montreal is working on as like their key game right now. Because a few studios were helping with Mirage, but it's basically been done. So it's been handed off for like a year and a half to get other animations and stuff done. So basically, two of the big studios hadn't announced anything or hadn't said what they were working on, but everybody else was on Star Wars. Which makes sense because it's the most non-Ubisoft looking thing. Like they had to make it, and by non-Ubisoft I mean it has to look different and better and of a specific aesthetic. Like if you told me that EA made it, I'd be like, yes. If you told me that Sony, like you could have told me that like I don't know, Santa Monica.
I could not say unless I looked really close that Ubi made it. Yeah.
Yeah, it could have been any very big studio, bigger than what Ubi's used to, could have made it. So that's great. And then finally, Michael, your favorite company, Capcom.
Yeah,
where only two things shown that were new. Everything else was all recycled.
Yeah,
and literally the same trailers that were shown earlier in the week, so they had no point in being there.
Yeah, Ghost Trick is fine. I reviewed that game like a million years ago. I think it's great that it's getting a re-release. There was a delay on Pragmata, which really sucks. That's the only thing I was really looking forward to.
They revealed that it exists and it's an actual game because they showed actual gameplay.
There was a trailer for this Mega Man mobile title, which
it was gacha bullshit, and now it's not gacha bullshit.
Yeah, with 900 levels, and you can collect all these abilities and shit. I mean, okay, sounds cool in concept, but nah, man, I'm good. I'll pass.
They closed out the show with Dragon's Dogma 2, but guess what? They didn't reveal anything new.
Yeah, it's just
it's all old footage.
It's all the old footage, and then when they had the dev talking point at the end where it's supposed to reveal new stuff, he just repeated exactly what the trailer said.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? And then the only reveal, I guess, two things that stood out to me is the Resident Evil 4 VR mode, they confirmed is completely free as an update. You don't have to pay for it as DLC.
Which is cool.
Good.
So if you have PSVR 2 or PSVR 1. So basically if you're on the PlayStation platform, you get free VR. And then I guess the Ace Attorney was the only reveal.
Yep.
Yeah, all right, cool.
Now you can play all the Ace Attorney games in one location.
And isn't it
pretty neat.
And isn't it the Ace Attorney games that people don't like though?
It's the ones where they tried to sunset Phoenix Wright, yeah.
And apparently they brought people back to voice new lines or something for it too. So
yep,
cool,
which is good.
But yeah, that was a 40-minute showcase that only needed to be 3 minutes long.
I think you could maybe gotten 15 minutes out of it, maybe, but it had no reason to be as long as it was. Plus, they were announcing, "Hey guys, here's our 40-year Capcom sale," which is only available on Steam, not on any other platform. It's kind of annoyed me.
If they hadn't had the Exo Primal Street Fighter crossover reveal in Jeff's show and the Path of the Goddess thing in the Xbox show, I would have said, okay, they had enough for a small half-hour showcase.
Yep.
I also just don't care about this Path of the Goddess game whatsoever.
Oh, I'm super interested because it's it gives me super Onimusha and Okami vibes. Both
it looks
games
pretty, but I
really enjoy.
I have to actually see more gameplay of it, not just what they showed.
Yeah, I would like to see more gameplay, obviously, but like just from the concept that it's presenting to me, I'm like, okay, I'm in.
My takeaway from this, more than anything, is that Pragmata is at least not deep down, in that it looks like it's actually still being made.
Yeah.
And that is it for what feels like the longest weekend of all time.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, we did see some pretty cool stuff this gaming season. Yeah. I'd say my top 3, I'm trying to think. Star Wars Outlaws is obvious. Persona 5 Tactical. And I'm trying to think what my other third game might be.
I mean, Final Fantasy is kind of a given because we already knew it was coming.
Yeah. Final Fantasy. Actually, South of Midnight. That I'd say.
If we're talking things that we hadn't seen gameplay of or didn't know it existed or was real until this, I'm interested in that Phantasmo, whatever the hell it is, metaphor game. Mm-hmm. I'm interested in Star Wars. If we go top 5, Star Wars, that I can't say Avowed because we knew it existed. I'm trying to think of things that were revealed.
One thing that's something of note, and I didn't notice this, so somebody mentioned it on Twitter. There was no Halo content.
Yeah. Not only was there no Halo content, they didn't mention that Halo existed in their presentation. And did you notice something else? When the show opens, they do the montages of all their first-party properties?
Mm-hmm.
Chief wasn't in the montage.
I saw him pop up in Brawlhalla, but that was the Ubisoft things. Like, okay, cool. You get
not on the not on the Microsoft. So I like, even without like content, they usually have him as part of the branding. He wasn't part of the branding.
Yeah, so that's not good.
They are not happy with 343.
No, they aren't. And also, well, I mean, like we know the structure inside 343 is being completely overhauled.
Most of the senior leadership is gone. Most of the people who are involved in the esports side of it have taken a hike. I mean, I was actually thinking about this the other day. When was the last time I played Halo? Because I used to tune into the Twitch drops where you could get a new gun skin or a new thing for your armor. I hadn't seen one in months until recently. That's a game you should constantly be doing stuff with. But the last 6 months plus, wet fart.
Well, I have a question for you guys. I guess as a closing question from this, because I know it's hard to pick what our favorite reveals were, because a lot of the stuff was revealed earlier. It just got more with it this time. Here's my question: are there three things? Are there three games that take some time to think? Because I got mine that you were surprised weren't shown at any of these shows that you've been hoping for, that maybe you hope will get revealed later on this year, or surprised that it hasn't been.
Surprised we. Okay,
mine, I'll go first.
Yeah.
One was I was positive Dragon Age was going to show up.
Yeah.
At either the PC show or at Microsoft, because 2 weeks before all the showcase stuff was happening, right around the time that Sony's thing was happening, they announced that the game was feature complete. And when they defined what they meant by that was you can play the game from beginning to end, and they have now entered alpha testing. Meaning alpha tests are usually where you showcase gameplay at these trailer events. And then you're usually like 6 months away from release or less sometimes. And people were saying that, they might be ready for a December release. So no Dragon Age. EA was basically absent. They didn't show any sports thing except for a VR game at the Oculus event. Or not Oculus, the MetaQuest.
I think EA is trying to stay quiet because there's a lot of litigation going on with their sports titles. There's a lot of crap that's going on with just how they're handling other licenses. Like they completely botched Star Wars for the most part.
You know what I mean?
Exclusivity.
Like you would have thought that there might have been like an accolades trailer or something for Star Wars, but like again, no Dragon Age. Number two, and this is also really surprising to me, at none of these events was anything shown about the new COD game at all. There was stuff. Yeah, there was stuff for Warzone,
all we know is that it's coming this year. Question mark.
Yeah, question mark. And like, what are they going to have another event? Because it
they are.
It ain't going to be at Microsoft because that whole debacle.
Well, here's the thing: you can tell, because Overwatch got shown off at the showcase for Xbox, which was weird and also confusing because they were like, hey, we have a pass for the first 4 characters all in one go, and that's coming in October. And then they're also showing like story missions and stuff like that. And it's so goddamn confusing, their messaging with Overwatch 2 right now, that I'm just going, okay, they clearly expected to have finished the deal by now. The deal was expected to be finished by now.
And the most recent word is that the FCC is actually posting to the courts to delay it even further.
Yeah.
So, like, I would say those two, my third, and I guess I shouldn't be surprised because we saw the whatever it is, the fucking Fantasy game.
Fantasy, yeah.
Whatever, Phantasmo Del Goro, whatever the fuck it's called. But I was surprised Persona 6, but not because of all this. But I was surprised that at the PC show we didn't see more Atlas titles being ported to PC.
Yeah.
Specifically SMT or something to that effect.
Supposedly SMT5's ready to release on other consoles besides Switch. I don't know what's going on with that.
Like what I mean by that is, and I don't just mean them, like it would have been interesting like if they did something to the extent of, hey, look, what's the one called? What's the one on the Switch? I know I reviewed it. I'm drawing a blank where you play as Power Rangers.
Shoot, I forget.
Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
Yeah, like that would have been a nice surprise if they were able to port that.
I think that, well, Tokyo Mirage Sessions is also tied to Fire Emblem, so that's Nintendo locked.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, something like that. So those are my three. What about you, Ken?
Out of the showcase, like I was really happy with how Liza P. One, they dropped the demo, and I played the demo.
Are there 3 things, or at least one, but maybe up to 3 things that you were surprised weren't shown or that you would have liked to have seen that weren't there?
I mean, Persona 6 would have been nice to see, but given the fact that Meteor, whatever the fuck that game is, that is clearly what the team has been working on, and then just probably concepting P6 at this point. So P6 is going to be a while out at this point.
Well, it's completely different teams.
Yeah,
this was that new studio that they built, Project Zero.
I will be lucky to see Persona 6 probably by the end. If Persona 6 shows up next year, then it's going to be. It might show up next year.
Would it be possible for like a TGS show of it, and then to say a worldwide release spring or summer?
That would be a cool drop.
Because they confirmed that future Persona games are going to have English
they're
dubs
definitely
ready to go.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be multi-plat. And they're also probably going to be multi-plat if they can work with it. On top of the fact that like you can clearly tell like Microsoft is investing in partnerships with Sega and Atlas because they want the Japanese audience. So that is if P6 does get shown off in the next year and a half or so, that's going to be a Game Pass.
Yeah, no doubt. Surprise me. So, are you back, Michael? Are you ready?
Yeah. Sorry, they were vacuuming literally right outside my apartment.
The apocalypse was happening outside your door, apparently.
I'd say for that. Oh, sorry.
Other than that, there isn't much that I can think of.
I'd say for me, the things I'm surprised we didn't get some kind of an update on Mass Effect, but they'll save that for the big presentation in December, because that just seems to be the way that it always goes, close to N7 day.
Or N7 day,
Do you think we'll have an N7 day tease and it'll say see more at the Game Awards?
Probably.
Yeah.
The other thing, I said this earlier in the show, I'm really surprised we didn't get a sizzle reel from the Fallout TV show. Really surprised they didn't show us like, hey, here is the intro, it's 30 seconds. It didn't even have to include stuff from the show. It could have just have been, here is the intro to like say how they showed the Halo intro, and it just shows the Master Chief in his armor and it's all CG. They could have done that for the Fallout TV show.
Especially since we got that terrible Twisted Metal one. So
yeah, which okay.
But I mean, like, I think they're all very. I think Xbox is incredibly wary of showing literally anything but games, because remember the TV.
Which I was the only one I ever knew that used the integrated Xbox TV thing into mine.
I'm not even joking. You are the only person I ever met that did that.
What else did I see there? I'm surprised we didn't get an update on Skyrim 6 or the Elder Scrolls 6.
Oh, no, that's forever. That's going to be... We're lucky we get it this generation.
Like, dude, we're like, not even joking, 2027.
Easy.
Well, hopefully it'll be good. Other than that, I guess
because they said it's not on the books until 2026 at least.
Oh, now I remember. The Indiana Jones game.
Yeah, nothing there, and no perfect art.
Well,
not surprised.
I'm not surprised about the Indiana Jones game, given the fact that Todd's directing it and he's been working with Starfield mostly.
Yeah, and I guess
so once Starfield's out, maybe next year we get to see Indiana Jones.
Kind of surprised just because Transformers Rise of the Beast just came out.
Oh, right.
Really? Where's that Transformers game?
Well, that also, I know that they were recently bought, like Gearbox. Why was there nothing from Gearbox at anything? Like, I know Gearbox is, like, they're technically under Embracer, but they're not. I already checked. They're not going to be included in the THQ Nordic showcase. That's only THQ Nordic. So what happened to the TV show or movie or whatever the hell it was that they were making?
The movie got okay. So so what happened was the movie had massive reshoots, and because the director of that movie, whose name is escaping me, he's now working on his next project already, while doing post for Borderlands. So he didn't have the time to do the reshoots, and Tim Miller took over reshoots for Borderlands.
Oh no.
Movie. So yeah, if he's not willing to do reshoots, what do you think the movie is like?
Well, that studio has nothing. They have no games. Like, that's one of the biggest studios that Embracer has, and they've shown nothing since Tiny Tina.
And Tiny Tina didn't do well.
And Tiny Tina was like a quick and dirty spin-off. Like, it was fairly quickly made.
Which is unfortunate, because that game was fucking fantastic.
Yeah, the game's good.
I had incredible technical issues on Xbox.
PC version had some technical issues too that I encountered, but nothing that was game breaking.
I had like one glitch on PlayStation 5.
My save is gone because it warped me in between out of bounds, and the cloud save loads me out of bounds.
Oh boy.
So I am never playing it again because I'm not starting over. So it's probably been fixed, but I'm sorry. I no likey during review period. I had a lot of fun with the lore. It's just like, don't release a game if a reviewer can be stuck and have their save erased. But yes, nothing from them. I'm trying to think. There were a few other people that didn't show up, but those are obviously Nintendo. We still have no idea what Nintendo's doing in the fall. But that's it for, I think, this show as we're rambling into the oblivion. As you can see, it sort of fell off a cliff after the Xbox show.
Yeah. So I guess in conclusion, it was an okay year. I'd give this a solid B-.
It's the best year since the virus wanted to kill the world.
Yeah. So not bad, not great. Some pretty cool stuff shown. We'll definitely have our gaming hands full come September with Cyberpunk, Mortal Kombat, Spider-Man, Final Fantasy next year. It's going to be busy, guys. It'll be fun, though. It's going to be a fun time. So that's going to do it for this edition of The Prototype. Lots of stuff coming up before the end of the month. We got a couple of loose cannons we're going to record this month, and you'll hear those during the month of July as we take our annual break off. We're going to be recording our Picard Season 3 finale review, basically the last couple episodes. I'm rewatching the series beginning tonight. We're going to do a show on the Transformers franchise, talking about the Michael Bay movies. It was Travis Knight who did Bumblebee, right, Ken?
Travis Knight did Bumblebee, and the gentleman that did Creed 2 did the latest one, which is Rise of the Beasts.
Yeah, so we'll be talking about that at the end of the month. Me and JT have a Sunday Funnies where we're talking about comic book or ideas that should have become cartoons or cartoons that should have become comic books. We got kind of some neat ideas in there. I have a really awesome idea for Dino Saucers as a comic. And trying to think of what else. I think, Alex, you and I have 2 more regular shows this Monday and the following Monday. And then during the month of July, you'll hear the odd review show from us, maybe once every week and a half, until we come back in August, because in Canada, it gets nuclear hot from the end of this month until pretty much the beginning of August.
And warnings this year of it being hotter than usual.
Yeah, and then Alex usually takes his producer break during August, so it means it'll be me, Ken, JT, and Enrique running the asylum with Aaron. So let's hope I don't break the place. So anyway, guys, I guess for This Week in Geek, starting in the lovely city of Kitchener.
Alex.
And from lovely Garden State, New Jersey.
It's Ken from This Anime, and I need a nap.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling that vibe. I have been your host, Mike the Birdman, saying be excellent to each other and don't pre-order anything just yet.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at ThisWeekInGeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@ThisWeekInGeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.